In a laboratory today, it acts against strains of a virus that have outlasted the leading prescription drug. It was used as medicine on 3 continents for more than 1,000 years. A Chinese pharmacy still fills prescriptions with it under a name older than the United States. The English gave it 4 names, and every single one of them is a promise. Self-heal, heal all heal, wound wart. And it is almost certainly growing in your lawn right now. What almost no one in America knows is that a century ago, this plant, and nearly every plant like it, was written out of American medicine on purpose, not by accident, by committee, on paper, with signatures. The schools that taught it were shut down. The textbooks that named it were shelved. The doctors who used it were relabeled as quacks. And within a single generation, 1,000 years of human knowledge became a chore you pay a lawn service to handle. This is the story of self-heal, the plant that never stopped working. It just stopped being remembered. Welcome to Nature's Lost Vault. London, 1597. The English botanist John Gerard sat down to write about the plants of his world. When he reached this one, he made a claim few herbs ever earned from him. For healing wounds, he wrote, there was no better herb in the world. He was not the first to say so, and he was nowhere near the last. Carpenters once kept it in the shop, pressing the crushed leaves onto the cuts they gave themselves with their own tools, which is why one of its oldest names is simply carpenter's herb. The botanical name, Prunella, comes from a German word for a brutal infection of the mouth and throat. The plant earned that title by being the thing people reached for when their throat closed up. On the other side of the world, in the herb shops of China, the same plant has been weighed out and sold for centuries under the name Ko, brewed into cooling teas and eaten as a green vegetable. Native peoples across North America used it too. 3 continents, separated by vast oceans and languages, all looking at the same small purple flower and arriving at the same conclusion. This one matters, and you have almost certainly walked right past it. It is a low plant with a square stem and a stubby spike of small purple flowers. It turns up in lawns, along paths, and in the cracked edges of fields. Most people who see it call it a weed. Most people who have heard its name have no idea they are looking at it. For most of the 20th century, that 1,000-year record sat quietly, filed away as peasant folklore. Then the modern laboratories caught up. In 2004, a team of researchers publishing in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology took a fraction drawn from self-heal and tested it against herpes simplex, both type 1 and type 2, in infected cells. The plant compound cut the virus down. The amount needed to halve it was strikingly small, around 20 micrograms per milliliter. That alone was interesting. But here is the detail almost everyone missed. The standard prescription drug for herpes is acyclovir. Over the years, certain strains of the virus have learned to survive it. Doctors call them acyclovir resistant, and they are a real and growing problem, because when that drug stops working, the medicine cabinet runs out of answers. The self-heal extract worked on those resistant strains too. Think about that for a second. A plant from the lawn acted on the strains that have already beaten the pharmacy. In 2024, researchers writing in the journal Chinese Medicine traced how it does this. The plant compound appears to block the virus from latching onto the cell in the first place, and it quiets an inflammatory pathway the virus relies on to survive. It is not magic. It is cellular mechanism. And this is not only a story about cells in a glass dish. As far back as 1990, a clinical report described 78 people with a herpes infection of the eye, treated with drops made from this plant. 38 were cured. 37 improved. Only 3 did not respond. Out of 78 people, 75 got measurably better. You would think a result like that would sit on every doctor's shelf in America. It does not. And the reason why is the real story of this archive. Cincinnati, Ohio, 1939. In a brick building that had trained American physicians for nearly 100 years, the eclectic medical institute graduated its final class. 3 years later, in 1942, it surrendered its charter and locked its heavy doors for the last time. The eclectics were not fringe. They were a serious American school of medicine built on botanical remedies, blending European folk practice with Native American knowledge. Their leading doctors compiled one of the most complete records of American plant medicine ever assembled, a massive volume called King's American Dispensatory. The 1898 edition ran to thousands of plant entries. Self-Heal lived inside that world. So how does a 100-year-old school of medicine simply die? It started with a single report, and at the time, it was sold to the public as a necessary reform. The Flexner Report, 1910. It was written by Abraham Flexner, an educator who had never practiced a day of medicine in his life, and it was funded by the Carnegie Foundation. Flexner traveled the country and inspected more than 150 medical schools, judging every one of them against a single rigid model: laboratory science, pharmaceuticals, and surgery. A school that taught plant medicine, or water cures, or homeopathy did not fit that model, and Flexner said so in plain, punishing language. Plant medicine, water cures, homeopathy, any of it was outside the model he described. He did not work alone. The American Medical Association had created its Council on Medical Education back in 1904. Historians who have studied the period have documented that the AMA had a clear financial reason to want fewer doctors competing for paying patients. The report gave the standardizing machinery exactly the weapon it needed. What followed was not subtle. Nearly half the medical schools in America closed or merged within a few decades. The botanical schools could not afford the expensive new requirements, and more to the point, they did not fit the new, officially sanctioned definition of medicine. By the 1930s, only a handful were left. The Eclectic Institute in Cincinnati held on the longest. And then it too was gone. But this was never really about one school in Ohio. When those doors closed, an entire American pharmacopoeia closed with them. The plants were not disproven. They were delisted, written out of the curriculum, out of the textbooks, and out of the training a young doctor would ever receive. It was not a smoky conspiracy with one villain in one room. It was something quieter and far more permanent. A standard written down in ink that had no column for a wild plant. And here is where it reaches you directly. Self-Heal still grows in American lawns from coast to coast, and every summer millions of people mow it, pull it, and spray it as a nuisance. The plant the English literally called heal all, you now pay a chemical service to remove. But the plant never read the report. It kept coming up in the same fields and the same lawns year after year, doing exactly what it has always done. Waiting, the way these plants always seem to wait, for someone to look down and finally recognize it. So learn to see it. It grows low to the ground with a square stem because it belongs to the mint family. Its leaves grow in opposite pairs, and its flowers gather into a short, blunt spike of small, purple, hooded blooms all through the summer. Once you have really looked at that flower spike, you will never again mistake it for grass. The traditional use is simple. The leaves, stems, and flowers are gathered, dried, and brewed into a tea, or steeped stronger and used as a gargle for a sore throat. the same use that gave the plant its oldest names. One honest caution. Self-heal draws up whatever is in the soil it grows in, so gather it only from clean ground that has never been sprayed. You do not need a prescription to walk into your own front yard. You do not need anyone's permission to learn the name of a plant that has been standing there the whole time, in plain sight, while the report that wrote it out of the textbooks gathers dust. If this vault changed how you see the weeds in your own grass, don't let this knowledge slip away again. Subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault, and one plant at a time, we will keep bringing back what the textbooks left out.